It was only a matter of time before we got into the territory of sports games, as of course they are a staple to any console that exists. And like many a video game fan, I don't care for them very much. But I do have a commitment to my show's premise that I would do every game on the GameCube, and now it's time to get this over with. The GameCube sports legacy began with Electronic Arts' soccer series, FIFA Soccer, with its 2002 edition. A legacy beginning in 1993 on the Sega Genesis with the first title in the series, FIFA International Soccer, and then every year since with the new title updating the roster going strong, and is currently the 6th best-selling video game franchise of all time. And of course, because the GameCube was popular enough, EA saw fit to put every new FIFA game on the system with 6 mainline entries and 4 spin-off titles, giving us a grand total of 10 FIFA games for one console. And you usually know the deal by now with these sports games that get pumped out every year. Get the rights to the organization, the teams, and especially the players, and then every year update the teams and stats so they're compatible in real life. And then in just a year, that game you bought $60 brand new will be worth $1.99. But not to be so cynical, if you enjoy watching the major leagues, you can have a nice nostalgia trip to see who was on that team that year coming back to an old game. So here's my plan regarding these sports games. Normally I cover one game per episode to give the game its full due, but with these sports games that both I and my audience probably don't care about, I'm just going to cover all the titles in that series in one video, give an overall thoughts and recommend which of the games stand out as the best of them. Okay, let's get started. The FIFA GameCube games, actually debuting in Japan first before the North American GameCube even released. FIFA, of course, being the organization that oversees the entire World Soccer League, or football if you prefer. We'll be taking a look at the 6 main entries alongside the World Cup games. I should mention later on, EA put out the first 2 entries to the FIFA Street series, which is more casual based than professional, so I don't think they really count to the overall series. I'll talk about those 2 later down the line, but for now, let's enter the world of professional soccer and see what sticks out. And the answer? Well, it's just a soccer game. A compatible one, anyone can pick up and play it. But yeah, if you want amazing power-ups or goofy situations, this is not the game for you. It's all about fast kicking, low scoring, ties, and determining which is the greatest country on earth, Mexico or Portugal. All the games we'll be talking about in this episode, with the exception of one, were done by EA's Canadian team, EA Canada, now known as EA Vancouver, and we'll do other sports games we'll cover later down the road. Now, I will say this regarding all of EA's sports games, and a lot of sports games going for realism, is that the way they include the announcers in the game is actually really magical. The way they sound so natural to the actions happening right now sounds exactly like you're watching a live game on TV, and I can't imagine how many voice clips are in the game to pull this off.
Fine tackle. The opposition come away here. Let it get away from him. Takes the ball off his opponent. Defenders have got a problem here. Has a crack, and there's the breakthrough, and hardly a murmur from the home fans. Their team are behind.
But as for the games themselves, well, they're really only slightly better versions than each other, and sometimes they're just really the same game with a few tweaks here and there to give off the impression that it's different. Like sometimes the menu is a bit different, and in some cases worse than it was before, and sometimes the title screen is easily one of the worst I've ever seen, like with 06. I mean, good lord. Sometimes you can choose a specific stage to play on, and sometimes you just play a default stage. Sometimes you can create a character, other times you can't for some reason. And some of them, they make you pick a team right from the get-go? Yeah, I don't get it. By 2005, the games definitely felt like one and the same, with only the minorest of minor updates. If I had to pick a specific game to play out of this bunch, I'd pick either 2005, 06, or 07 if you want the whole shebang in terms of content, with stuff like create a character and an in-game currency to buy stuff like new costumes, alongside all the modes like tournament. But in terms of gameplay, 2003 has something called action settings, which turns up the speed and makes the game less focused on rules, so you essentially get an arcade mode, which is a lot more appealing to me. Again, maybe I'm missing something skimming through these games, but this is what I'm going off of by snap judgment. But before we wrap things up, we have the 2 other spin-off titles to look at. Every 4 years, the FIFA organization holds the FIFA World Cup, the ultimate match to end all matches, that takes 4 years of success to reach this point. And of course this is a big event, so you know EA isn't missing out on that, so here comes their adaptations on the 2002 World Cup and 2006 World Cup. 2002 is surprisingly lacking in a lot of content compared to even the 2002 edition of FIFA, which has a free play option and a 2002 FIFA World Cup option, which I guess is the main mode. No tournaments or anything like that, or even create a player. And getting into the game itself, it's surprisingly more spare and slower than the other titles in the main game. What is going on here? Well, I was confused at first, until I noticed who developed the GameCube version specifically. Tosei Software. You probably never heard of them, but if you played a lot of retro titles, then there's a chance you played one of their games. They're contract developers usually doing work without taking the credit, but thanks to some great super sleuths in the gaming fandom, a lot of their work has been discovered. They're also notable in the fact they did not do a lot of very good work, probably because their appeal was cheap production with zero credit, so the publishers can take all the credit for their mediocre game. Although to be fair, they did do a lot of work people like. But honestly, the idea that EA actually went to these guys to make a big soccer game that every fan was going to buy is actually shocking to me. Especially the big title only released every 4 years. No shock here, but this is in my opinion the worst FIFA game on the GameCube. However, I'd say that the 2006 World Cup game is the best one out of the bunch here. Thankfully, EA Canada is back on main duty here, and while it is what you expect in their FIFA game, the game is noticeably a lot faster, playing a lot like the action settings in the 2003 edition. And on top of that, a lot of extra modes to pick from besides the standard tournament and free play mode. I wish this menu was a little better, however, but besides that, I can really appreciate EA Canada not just making another FIFA game that's a clone of the main series, which knowing EA they would have totally done. So that's my thoughts on the GameCube FIFA games. And of course, I only gave these games a quick snap judgment review. But if you want my thoughts on which of these games you should play, just get the 2006 FIFA World Cup game. But of course, this is not the end of the soccer discussion on Cubeathon, as there will be even more soccer games down the line. And will they make FIFA look average by comparison? We'll see. As for next time, we finally make it to the North American launch of the GameCube, easily its biggest market, where we got 3 more sports series to talk about. Alright, let's go.
Defender's in charge. He's won the ball. Oh, what a goal!